This is Create the Next from ProCFO Partners, where every week we explore strategies and ideas for financial management and growth to help today's businesses put their financial picture in context.
Welcome back to Create the Next. I'm Chris Bintliff, and my friend Nelson Tepfer, the CEO, the visionary, the co-founder at ProCFO Partners, is with us. And Nelson, I'm so glad to be with you. I always am. You're the smartest guy in the room, and I love to just get your take on whatever's going on. And we were talking a little bit about the last year, which I feel like for the last 5 years, every year we've said, it's been kind of a weird year. It's been kind of a different year. This last year we had, off the top of my head, tariff stuff. We had AI everywhere, all the time, everything stuff. We had dynamic interest rates and cost of capital. I'm wondering, what did you experience this last year with your clients, with the climate of business, with your own business? What did you experience, and where did you notice the most resilient characteristics come to play? What can we be learning from what we experienced last year so we can go into 2026 with the right mindset, but also the right skill set?
Oh, wow. So that's quite a loaded question there, Chris. Let's have some fun with it and play this.
Pick one.
So looking back through this year, there were definitely some volatile moments, to say the least. From the start of the year, for those of you who recall, there was this huge tariff shift and what that meant for global supply chains and how companies needed to react really, really quickly. For us, we saw that ripple effect, or almost that bullwhip effect, go through other industries as well, not just direct supply chain ones, but their vendors, and everything like this, because we're working in so many different industries. So we had that this year. We had interest rates. We had the new versions of AI, the new AI wars that seem to be coming out on an almost weekly basis or almost daily basis. Sometimes it feels. So there's been a whole lot going on. But let's start with some of the basics. The tariff side of things. It is definitely still going on. It is not as much headlines today, perhaps, as it was earlier this year, but there's definitely a whole lot that are still going on, and companies are still navigating this. So just because it is not headlines doesn't mean it is not actually impacting companies day in, day out. Anyone who's has bought anything in the last 6 months has probably certainly seen the effect of tariffs by and large, because the costs have to be borne somewhere. And that's across almost anything that you've bought, because almost everything comes in from outside the United States. So let's start with how are companies navigating this, and what does that look like for them in the future? More and more companies are just adopting it into their new business as usual, which is the right way to approach it. There's, okay, how do I need to adopt what I'm doing from a business practice side? And how do you need to be thinking about your global supply chain in a new or advanced model, recognizing that things can change on you much faster than they ever have previously?
Do you feel like the skill set there is adaptability and to be nimble? Or is that more of a structural thing, more of an efficiency thing? You have to create the company that can adapt quickly and be more nimble.
It's definitely a bit of both, but we also can't really look at that in a vacuum. It's just saying, a company can react in a vacuum. I mean,
yep.
It would be great if a company can react by just, this headline hit the news and suddenly the entire company is doing something different by 10 a.m. As efficient and as agile as companies are, I haven't really met that many that can react that fast, especially when you're talking about global supply chains and obviously a whole bunch of people involved. But it is the ability to recognize signals and to be able to react or plan accordingly for them. I don't think anybody had, tariffs at whatever they hit at its peak on their tarot cards if you're looking at the beginning of this year. But at the same time, what is you have to be able to say, okay, if this is what is happening, what does that mean for our business? So the first, perhaps better way of looking at this is how you approach the problems needs to be a little more systematic, needs to be a little bit more agile, but it needs to be in some kind of framework. What is the impact this will have on my business? Can I do this scenario planning? And we've discussed scenario planning in the past. What do I know enough to be able to at least say, okay, this is the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 likely outcomes, and therefore how I'm positioning the company to react if or how things develop as we move forward. I think that's really critical. So is it about agility or adaptability? My answer, of course, is going to be yes. You need to be able to adapt, but ultimately, it's what that looks like in practice is obviously, I think, what's really, really key. Just saying adaptable doesn't mean anything. A business owner suddenly saying, "Yep, now we're doing something different," doesn't mean the whole company can suddenly switch and do something different.
I love that you're connecting that to, as always, sort of a pragmatism, a data point. Run a scenario. So I don't know. There are ways that organizations can react which is not the same as respond, react to some of these tensions, is raise prices or change our services or product portfolio or change our our workforce. Let's cut staff or whatever. And sometimes that's all of the things that you have to do. But when you connect into don't make decisions that you don't know where they could lead you. The scenario planning, that sort of forecasting that we've talked about a lot. That is really important and goes right to the heart of, do you have the right CFO in the organization so that you can do these things with a steady hand?
It's very, very true. And forget title CFO. We've joked about this a lot. Do you have that financial leader? Do you have that perspective? Do you have that insight you need to be able to react accordingly or to be able to plan accordingly? And that's especially true this time of year, December. We're looking at what's ahead to next year. How are you connecting those plans and what we're doing into how we're going to set ourselves up for success next year?
That's what, it's hard to be able to plan ahead when we're constantly sort of barraged with the unpredictable. And even as we talk about this tariff thing, every week that scenario seems to change. And so it's just difficult to know how to, the things you can't control, which are a lot of things, it's difficult to be able to, prepare for those things or plan ahead for those things. And we've tried so hard to develop those things over the last 5-6 years. But still, it's very difficult. What advice do you have, or what approach do you take to, I guess, being able to stand the punches?
Very often, I'm a big fan of, boil it down to basics. You have to simplify to be able to really understand this. And ultimately, it comes down to, what are you as a business owner doing? What is your company really doing? Because that level of clarity makes it much easier to say, yes, this thing might knock me off track over here, but I still have an eye of where I'm trying to go. So do I need to shift a little left? Do I need to shift a little right, go higher, go lower for this next month, 2, 3, quarter 2, whatever that looks like? Maybe. But I still have an idea of what is it I'm trying to get to. It's when you don't know that you really begin to, run into trouble, because then anything can knock you off track.
Do you find that the most flat-footed organizations are those that are missing the basics? They don't have their reporting in order. They don't have a good standing of where their present reality is. So therefore, how could they plan for the future? Is that a reality?
I'll say it a little differently. Well, yes, we definitely see that. There's also an aspect of not connecting the operational side of reporting into how it informs strategic decisions. And that bridge is really, really key. You've heard me tell us that, the stories here before, but my favorite one remains, when the business owner tells me, the company's too big for him to run on gut instinct alone. And that was a large company with a controller and 9 people in his accounting function, but he still felt like that. And so, to your point, Chris, were they doing the basics? Sure. They were closing their books. Yeah, they wanted it done a little bit faster. They were doing all the accounting. The stuff was done, but it didn't help him inform the new things that he was focused on or what he was looking at for the vision of the company.
Yeah, that really speaks to processes for me. I'm thinking about a CEO that I talked with earlier this week, and she has worked really hard to create an infrastructure for her company to grow or scale, but it's slow, or there's more moving parts than we anticipated, or these 3 key stakeholders left, which means we had to reorganize. And it gets so that you feel like you're just kind of on this treadmill, or this hamster wheel of constantly trying to get to that place. Do you ever get to that place, or is it mostly about build the practices and infrastructure around you so that you are always ready for something?
Well, defining what that place is might be helpful, so you know if you've actually gotten there or not. And what I find working with as many business owners as we do, and as many as you've spoken to, Chris, it's more feeling usually than a specific number. For a business owner, where they feel constantly like they're on their hamster wheel, is where they're doing things that is draining instead of inspiring or giving them energy out of things. And business owners need to do it. I'll be the first person to tell you, every business owner goes through that. You have to do things, more, you're the owner of the company. Ultimately, the buck stops with you. You got to actually do the job, or make sure you're hiring the right people who can do the job. That is one of the key elements that we find very often, is that they either hold on to things too long, or they don't know the right pieces to bring in to help them continue to move forward. And so it feels like they're stuck on this hamster wheel doing the same things again and again and again.
I love that you just brought up this idea of sort of, do you feel inspired? How important is that all of these things are seen less as challenges and more as opportunities, that you're capable of seeing that from the right or different or more productive lens?
I think as owners, it's always important to be able to look at it from different perspectives. Again, as an owner, you'll always be things that you have to do as an owner that you may find draining. But ultimately, it comes down to, is it helping you move the company or yourself where you want to go? I've spoken to business owners who are very happy with the stage or size where they were, with a slow and steady type of growth, and they were thrilled. This is great. I have a nice company. It's doing this. I can take care of my people. I can take care of my family. I can do all this type of thing, and
Mhm.
that's great. I know many other business owners where it's like, no, well, if we're not growing 40% a year, we're dead. And it's like, okay,
Mm.
but what does that mean you need to build as an organization to be able to sustain that, and how you are continually investing or doing this? Neither of those two statements are right or wrong. Not, it's not that one owner was right or one owner was wrong. It's what are you actually building towards? So therefore you can say, okay, A, now I've achieved it, or B, what support do you need around you to help you actually achieve those goals? And that support around you is key. And we talk about this a lot when we start with companies, trying to understand where the organization is trying to go. Because as their CFO, all the pieces we need to be helping them build, from the strategic down to the operational, from the processes to all the different pieces, all of it needs to be supporting where they're trying to go. And if we don't know that, we're just treading water or operating in that vacuum as well, without it actually connecting the dots to the actual growth and goals of the organization.
What are you keeping your eye on going into 2026? Is there something you're particularly interested in, or that your finger's really on the pulse of?
So 2026, I think we say this every year when we start wrapping up the year. It's definitely going to be interesting, and a lot of things that will happen more than what we expect. And the interesting thing, Chris, I think that's more and more true these days. Like we react faster, things are different, but we also respond faster to a large degree. I mean, just think of, again, we'll bring up the tariff situation again. Just think of what that actually did to the entire global economy, and how quickly that's faded from the news cycle, how quickly that's faded from top of mind of what people are
Oh,
thinking about.
fascinating. You're right. Yeah.
So I do think we're still going to see these kind of tremors or stumbling blocks, or take your pick for the word you'd like to use to describe it. But I also think we'll respond and react faster to it. I think that's the nature of the world we live in today. Among the biggest things, again, I don't think we can talk about anything here in December of 2025 without talking about AI.
Hmm.
AI, we've watched very carefully how it's evolved and what it can and what it is and isn't doing for companies. And I think companies are getting smarter at saying, yes, we need to do more. I think there's more noise as to what it really can or cannot do.
Mm, I agree.
Just saying AI is great, beyond helping write your emails in ChatGPT, what is it really doing for you? Again, we're getting really clear on what it can and cannot do. There are more and more solutions that companies should be exploring to invest in productivity, but they need to know the right resources and bring in the right resources that actually help them do this. Not just, oh, well, I have AI over here, because many companies are spending a lot of money and not seeing the return on that investment.
I feel like there's an opportunity there too to as always, be more strategic. There's a lot of tactical knee-jerk sort of, and I don't know. There's a guy in the office who's pretty good with ChatGPT. Let's put him in charge. Like, there's a lot of move as fast as you can and hope that it works out. How do we? I don't know. How do we approach that? What do you think we should do? Be a little more patient, find a consultant who's an expert in this space. You and I've talked earlier this year about AI, and a lot of it is assessing what do you need? Where are your opportunities so that you can start to understand where AI is? How do we start?
So what we tell most companies is there's a couple of things. A, it's frame the problem you're trying to solve, because without actually understanding the problem, AI may help with the solution, but AI itself is not the solution. So what is it that you're trying to solve that AI will actually then help you build, or help you actually achieve this? Are you trying to better outbound marketing? Are you trying to clean up your operations? Some of that. What is it that you're actually facing as an organization, or you see a room for improvement? And then you can look at it as, okay, is there an AI solution here that will help me do this? What is it that will actually do it that way? So I think sometimes just reframing the problem is always pretty key for many companies. And then it is talking to more people. Do you know anyone who's used it this way in the past? Not just, like I said, the ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, or take your pick, whatever version that everyone's using today. Although last I heard, Gemini 3 is better than ChatGPT 5.1. I don't know. That just seems to be in the news this morning, because OpenAI just said red alert because Gemini 3 is doing.
I saw that too.
Well.
Speaking of crazy headlines in reactive modes, right?
Yeah. So, yes, I mean, these are all fantastic tools, but ultimately it comes down to, what is a tool helping you do? I think there's so much more. I do think agentic AI, having agents do things instead of just you telling something what to do, will continue to evolve. It's a little bit of the Wild West out there, so it does get scary, but find the things that you can test with it. What is it that you can build an agent around to actually do? Understand those solutions. And that's why I like thinking about it in terms of the problems you're facing as a business owner, and therefore talking to people, have you tried this other one? Have you used the resource that's helped in this? Talk to others, because there's a lot of people selling services. Some of them are really good. Some of them are figuring it out with you. And again, it's okay as long as they're being upfront and you know what you're getting into when you start. So I won't call any of them frauds or charlatans or anything like that per se. Although I'm sure some of those exist, but we're not going to go that far and call any of them that. But ultimately, it is difficult to be the expert in the space without truly understanding how this works and having built some of these solutions in the past. And my suggestion to business owners is, if you're going to bring in a resource to help you do this, you want to know how they've done something like this in the past, what it's really done. Talk to others, talk to people who've used them, talk to people who built other solutions like this. I do think companies need to be more okay with trying and testing more of this, because I think the speed of adoption will continue to increase. And if you're not staying ahead of it, you will fall behind it.
As we kind of, I guess, wind down this conversation, but we've already committed to have more of these conversations, everybody, because Nelson is a great resource. What are you've been in this space for a minute, and you're a business owner, and ProCFO Partners is moving into its 6th year. What's inspiring you? What are you excited about? What makes you excited to come to work every day?
So for me and Hale, it's always been the why of this is truly one of the most powerful things that we do. We know so many business owners struggle with the lack of financial leadership, or the lack of the impact financial leadership should have on a company. For us, that remains, our metric of success, our guiding light is always how many more companies can we help and support this way. It was never a revenue goal. It was never a revenue target. I think I used a quote earlier this year or last year in one of my newsletters. Bigger does not mean better, but better is how you get bigger. We've always been focused on how do we get better? How do we better serve our clients? How do we better support our team? And the results thus far have shown up in Inc. 5000 now for 2 years in a row, and are probably going to make it for the 3rd year. So the bigger part definitely comes as you focus on the better, but it does not without its own challenges. The more and more noise in the market of everyone saying they're providing this kind of service. So how do we continue to focus on the impact we drive for our clients and for those we serve?
Nelson Tepfer is the CEO, co-founder at ProCFO Partners. Thank you so much, Nelson. I love having these conversations with you where we just kind of pick the world apart a little bit. And I think they're really valuable for our audience and for the other business leaders out there who are in some sort of a same space. I'm looking forward to more conversations like this next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for watching, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. Visit ProCFOPartners.com for more strategies and ideas for financial management and growth to help you put your business's financial picture in context.